YouTube. Let me go ahead and introduce myself and introduce my channel. I'm a relatively new rider. I think I just hit a year about a week or so ago. I'm a slightly older rider. I'm 38 now. Started riding obviously at 37, and so I am going to try to show what it's like to be a new rider starting out later in life. This is my first bike. I never rode when I was younger. Frankly, I just didn't have a whole lot of interest in it. I was interested in high performance cars for a long time, and it really just kind of got the urge to ride later on in life. And how that came about is kind of an interesting story, but I'll probably talk about that on another video. My whole purpose of learning to ride was learning to ride so that I could get involved in doing track days, and that was the plan, was to learn how to ride well enough to be able to get to a racetrack. That kind of morphed into, I like street riding as well, and so I as much as I like to get out to a racetrack, I've only been once before. It's just a lot more available to ride on the street. You can do it whenever you feel like it, and it's a lot cheaper and a lot more accessible, right? So I've just kind of fallen in love with motorcycles, and so what I hope to kind of portray for you guys and kind of tell the story is what anybody who's thinking about starting to ride motorcycles later on in life, what that looks like, right? There's been some ups, there's been some downs for sure. So like I said, if anybody else is thinking about picking up this hobby, sport, lifestyle, really, hopefully they can take some inspiration from this, or, you know, I don't know, maybe they look at this and say, maybe I don't want to do that. I don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully people will say, hey, you know, if he can do it, then I can do it. But like I said, there have been some ups, there have been some downs, and I'll talk about those, you know, throughout the span of this channel. So this is my first bike. I bought it new. It's a 2022 Aprilia RS660. Oh, something's going on. Like I said, this is my first bike. You'll see a lot of people all over the internet, you know, a lot of people say like, oh no, it's a terrible idea, it's a terrible first bike. So my coworkers that ride, one of them told me, he's like, I think you might have inadvertently bought yourself a big boy bike. He's like, you're probably gonna kill yourself. So far, actually, I've been super happy with the bike. It is quick enough, but not so quick that, you know, you're gonna kill yourself right away. If you're smart about it, you leave some of the safety features on, and then just slowly become accustomed to the bike, turn them off as you go. I mean, as you become more and more comfortable and just kind of ride within your skill level, you know, then it's, I don't think it's any worse really than any other bike, to be honest. You know, this has some capabilities certainly that an R3 or you know, Ninja 400 or something like that aren't going to have. But if you're ever going to be riding on the highway, I would think twice about buying an R3 or a Ninja 400. I've only ever ridden them once. I've only ever ridden an R3. I've never ridden a Ninja 400, so I can't speak from experience, but I do know, just looking at the top speed of those bikes, right, if you're on the highway, a lot of times it's not uncommon for it to be a 70 or even 75 mile an hour posted limit, and people actually do somewhere between like 85 and 90, right? Well, if your bike only does a little over 100 miles an hour, then you don't have a whole lot of options to get away from things if things get weird, right? If people start driving badly or whatever, and you just want to drop a gear and get the hell out of there, you really don't have that many options to do that on some of those bikes, right? You know, if their top speed is 10 miles an hour over the speed that people are cruising at, that top portion of your RPM range, you know, usually you're kind of running out of power at that point, and so you're really struggling to accelerate. So this bike doesn't have that problem. 100 miles an hour, it'll still accelerate somewhat rapidly, right? It's not a leader bike, obviously, but it's and it'll get it done. I mean, the other aspect of that is, I'm 230 pounds. If you're 140 pounds, your experience may vary a little bit, right? But in general, like I said, I like this bike. I like the features of this bike. I like the power and performance range of this bike, and it's been a perfectly fine starter bike for me. So would I recommend it for everybody? Probably not. Like I said, I have a reasonable amount of experience in high performance cars before I came to bikes, and so you start to gain an intuition for where you can really crack the throttle and where it's probably not such a good idea. And so it's maybe not the best starter bike for everybody, but it's certainly a possibility for people that are a little more mature, a little more experienced. It's not going to instantly kill you and catch fire and explode like a movie from the 80s, right? But yeah, so I'm going to keep this video relatively short. I just want to kind of introduce myself, my bike, what I'm trying to achieve here, and what you guys can expect from the channel. My goal is to try and kind of demonstrate, like I said, what it looks like to start on a bike at a later age, later on in life, and how feasible is it, how expensive is it, how difficult is it, and with that singular focus of really trying to get to the track and trying to really hammer on the bike and learn and push it in a safe environment, right? Other things that I want to talk about. So I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I kind of wanted to touch on what the bike scene here looks like. The bike scene here is pretty awesome, actually. We're out near the Tail of the Dragon. We're out near like Cherahalla Skyway, the Foothills Parkway, Devil's Triangle, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff that I honestly don't even know about yet. I actually just moved here about 2 to 3 months ago, so I'm still learning too, right? So that'd be cool. You guys can come along with me. We can kind of learn together. Right now, I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and my bike. So, all right, you guys have an awesome day. I'll talk to you later.